mental health care systems that are accessible and equitable for everybody, and that are considered of different peoples and groups, which includes people from different cultural backgrounds as well as needs and abilities. So we'll have about 30 minutes to the panel, and then we will have a 15-minute Q&A. We'll wrap up at about 12:15. So let me introduce our panelists. Is this too loud or too echoey? It's outside. Okay. Okay. So today we have five panelists from very diverse backgrounds. We have Miss Survanti Ali, who is a licensed clinical social worker and mental health counselor based in Dhaka. She works with adolescents above the age of 11, adults, couples, and families, and she's been practicing for 7 years. Welcome. Thanks, Survanti. And next we have, just 1 second, we had a last minute change. So we have Marjorie Bida Gaffar from We Evolve. She is a clinical psychologist with more than 10 years of clinical experience, trained in both basic and advanced cognitive behavior, a lot of experience working with children and adolescents, and expertise in trauma and violence cases. Now we have Evine Ali. She has worked in public health and mental health and psychosocial support with the UN Refugee Agency since 2015 in Lebanon and Iraq. Since 2022, she has been MHPSS officer in Cox's Bazar, where she looks after mental health and psychosocial support programs for Rohingya refugees. We have Mr. Malik Dalha Ismail Bari, who manages United Hospital. As a director of United Group, he played a founding role in the establishment of Unimart, the biggest hypermarket chain in the country, and also Chef's Table, the premier food court establishment in Bangladesh. He likes to remain mentally and physically fit to do his hobbies better. For physical health, he goes to the gym and engages in outdoor sports activities. For mental well-being, he falls on his spiritual practices. And now we have Mr. Minhaj Haq, who is a clinical psychologist. He's a wellness educator, past holder at the UN Office of Drugs and Crime, a child trauma specialist, and the vice chairman of Dokdoy, a medical clinic specializing in addiction counseling. So a big welcome to all five of you. Thank you for being with us today. So my first question, and I would like each of you to answer this one by one, is what does inclusive mental health mean to you? In your practice, how do you help ensure inclusive mental health for the people that you serve? How about in your personal life, if you give any examples? Dushi?
Thank you, Shahira. I think for me, inclusivity is um, for people who suffer generally from mental health. There's always an othering. There's a feeling of stigmatization. There's a feeling of isolation. People feel like they're not being connected with, and that in itself, that othering, right, is why people are so scared to come forward and talk about mental health. Um, I'll keep this short. I mean, with my clients, obviously, what my job is as a therapist is not to put my personal beliefs or my personal ideals onto the other person, but understand what um, what they're as a social worker, understanding their background, their holistic background, their socioeconomic background, their spiritual connections, their family connections, and how that affects their behavior, and whether that behavior in itself is detrimental to their personal health, right? And their mental well-being. So, and in my personal life, I guess I talk a lot about mental health. And I try really hard to normalize it. I try to normalize having special needs in kids because I think that's a really, people don't like talking about it. We don't want to admit that there's anything wrong with our children. And so just, I guess, educating, awareness, normalization. Thank you.
Thank you.
put it straight.
You can just.
For me, inclusive mental health means, as a clinical psychologist, we always include or incorporate each client or each human, regardless of their gender, regardless of their sexual orientation, regardless of their anything, any cultural background. So, as a psychologist, what we do that we always encourage each and everyone. We like to feel the client or every people so that they can feel that they are valued, they are seen, and they are heard. So, in if I say that what I do to as a inclusive mental health practice, what I do that not only what I do that I don't only talk about mental health. I want to incorporate each activity which also promote mental health well-being, and which also feel that the person is being valued non-judgmentally and support them during their mental health struggles. Thank you.
So some of the themes that are coming up are, supporting that justice, with othering. We also have a lot of expertise of working with children and adolescents on this panel. So first of all, come back to that. Ideen, please, share with us what inclusive mental health means for your work.
Yeah, we also work with populations who feel big time, not heard, not seen, not recognized. Yeah, inclusive mental health is also about giving everybody the inclusive, being included in the big decisions, being heard, being recognized, knowing that everybody matters. And honestly, I'll speak a little of my own personal background. I also, my parents moved a lot in their life. Being Middle Eastern, there was always something happening somewhere. I can tell also, like, for my parents, speaking their own language did matter a lot to them. So allowing everybody to be themselves when they want to be is inclusive mental health. And for me also, you asked how do I do it in my own personal life? It's also about us allowing ourselves to feel all the emotions. We don't have to be always happy. If we're sad, then we're sad. Toxic positivity doesn't really help always. That's it. Thank you.
I'll just take this one.
I think that's a really helpful and positive, way of looking at mental health, space for us to show up as we are, with the full range of emotions. Mr. Balha.
Yeah. From a healthcare provider perspective, I think one of the things that we regularly work on, being one of the larger tertiary hospitals in the country, is actually just making people aware of the symptoms and signs of mental illness, because I think that is often not communicated enough. Secondly, I think people often forget that stresses, not only just job related or other things, can occur from health related issues as well. So we regularly have people doing major procedures like cardiac procedures, cancer procedures, cancer survivors, and so on and so forth. And a lot of these procedures, after they're done, they require mental health counseling. So first of all, I think in terms of inclusivity, just getting the message out there that, look out for the symptoms of mental health issues, and that there is help available, and that it can be worked on over time. So yeah, I think that's the main role that we have in this particular scenario. Thanks.
Hi there. I work with mental health is a problem with everybody. Okay, so we need to understand that the way we work with severe patients when they come with a lot of baggages under their shoulder. And the two axes that we work, one axis that we work, psychologically they are really not up to their, up to their mark, and they're having trouble about having a balanced thought process. Another one is, yeah.
When you say we, you mean at Prothoi?
At Prothoi, right. Yeah, Prothoi, we are a hospital, we are a clinic, we are specialized in patients dealing with their own psychological problem, also chemical-induced problem. All right, so there are two sides, and they come to us when they're severely down. All right, so we have to tackle that. Apart from that, that is a part that there is an approach that we always go ahead and try to fix their problem. And apart from that, what I see that is not only that I'm focusing on Protha, I'm focusing on each and every part of the human lives. They suffer from a lot of things. So it's very important for them to understand that, if they want to deal about that, they can do it. Sometimes it becomes really difficult for them to do that. So there are platforms available like my institution. There are a lot of institutions. There are a lot of psychologists. There are a lot of people who are helping hand open their doors to allow them to come and speak really freely about themselves. What's wrong with them? My job is in Prothoi to identify a person. They rediscovered themselves, and they began to know that what exactly they need to do with their in a daily lives. So one thing I'll just say that we all have character defects like acceptance, discipline, anger issues and things. It's very important to balance it out and to understand that if we have a balance and the four factors of the four planes, like physical, mental, spiritual, and social, these planes are balanced, then we can actually have a very good life. We can maintain and control our own thought process. Yeah, that's about it.
Thank you. So from a healthcare provider perspective, Mr. Dalhite, so you were saying, you were saying that somebody goes through a major procedure, they don't realize that actually can have an impact on their mental health, and they might need some support for that. How do you approach those conversations? Do you have a counselor who is always made available to patients in those circumstances?
Yes. So I think the whole health industry is also changing, very evolving as we learn more, as we see new sort of patients coming in. Just to give you a very brief example, postpartum depression, that's a very real thing, right? That's something that we have known all along. But I don't recall, mental health services being available for a lot of women who gave birth to a child, and they had to suffer alone without really understanding what are the steps or healthy steps that can be taken to overcome situations such as this. So that's just one example. Every major procedure has these things, both pre-procedure as well as post-procedure. Anxiety is one thing that we face. There are worries about quality of life that's there. So what we have done in this particular instance, one, we have trained mental health specialists who are always available, and they're recommended by our doctors to their patients as well. So if they require counseling, it's recommended to them as well, just so that they understand well what they're going to get into, especially for chronic illnesses. I think that's also very important. And also the other thing is we try and talk about these things even through pictorials, through basic signage displays. As they're waiting to see a doctor, they can read about these things and, maybe just be able to identify a symptom that they have within themselves and look for that thing. So I think one of the main things that we're supposed to be doing at this point is break the stigma. I think that's one of the things that are mainly holding us back at this point. So I think we have a big role to play in that.
Well, that's incredibly progressive. So can I ask, has this mental health integrated approach been present at United Hospital Service Provision from the beginning, or is it something that has been gradually introduced?
It's been gradually introduced. As I said, I think the whole culture of healthcare practices in Bangladesh, it's been evolving. I think people are much more aware of mental health issues nowadays than, let's say, even a decade back. And I think to an extent, some of the stigma has been broken, maybe, especially with the newer generations. I think they're approaching it differently. I think the schools are also playing a much larger role in addressing mental health issues. But having said that, let's understand that a lot of this changes we are seeing is happening because of the impact of, let's say, social media and the fast-paced continuous excitement, let's just put it like that, because it's stimulating us at a level that we were not used to when we were growing up, which means these are issues that are happening more and more nowadays than what we were facing. Also because of the fact that there were a lot more, let's say, outdoor activities when we were growing up. People used to go out, Nowadays, that has reduced quite a bit. So, I mean, events like Dhaka Flow, I think they play a big role in, again, reconnecting the community, just to make sure that, people are hanging out together in healthy environments, healthy activities. So, along with these sort of social events, healthcare providers also have a role, and I think we have been evolving and changing. And as time goes on, I think more of these provisions will come into play as well.
So it's really a whole of society approach.
Yep.
Dushi, could you speak to
Sorry.
this idea that the conversations, the culture around mental health in Bangladesh are changing, especially specifically with the younger generations. I know that you work, with adolescents.
Right. It's actually interesting. I didn't start out working with adolescents. I think both my kids were growing up. I didn't want to deal with that at home as well as at work. But the need in Bangladesh, specifically in Dhaka, is just, I just feel like that's where I would be able to do the most good. And, like half the time, parents bring their kids in because they're not being able to, get the marks that they've previously gotten. That's like my top complaint. And I'm like, that's not really a mental health problem, but everything is connected. There is a reason why this child has been getting straight A's and then all of a sudden he's failing. Where is that coming from? What's the connection? How do we help him overcome this without shaming them, without belittling them, without making them feel like this is an intrinsically shameful thing that I'm not doing, rather than I need to grow as a person and this is a path that I need to take, or this is a direction or a step that I need to take. So I think for me, I think mental health is all about accepting yourself with your flaws, acknowledging your flaws, maybe not loving your flaws, trying to love your flaws, but accepting them and not hating yourself for your flaws, and also not over representing your good points either, finding the balance. So I don't know whether that answered your question, but
Yeah, I think you brought up some really important points. And I love how, this conversation is really, addressing how, not mental health as, an illness, something that, is wrong with you, but, a way of accepting ourselves, accepting ourselves, warts and all, and also making space for other people's, self-acceptance.
I think another thing, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to put in there is that we don't always have to have the same value alignment with our children. We didn't have the same value alignment with our parents. A part of us, I may not be as religious as my parents, or I may be more religious than my parents, or I may not be as conservative as my parents, or whatever. There's a difference. There's always a value difference. And understanding that boundary, like I said, and respecting the other person as well as acknowledging that. So it's kind of like the same vein of state.
Yes, would you like to add to that, Madhuri?
Yes, so sorry.
Yes, I would like to add something. Like as we always said that mental health journey, it's a journey, right? It's a continuum. It's not like the one-time shot. And what we do in our practice, that we do individually tailored practice. We always tailor the treatment or intervention according to the patient's or client's needs. So it's a journey. So the main approach is what are the client's needs and how we can address it, and how we can feel the client more confident, and how they can overcome the problems. Also accepting their struggles and also accepting their difficulties. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Evine, I would love for you to tell us a little bit about the programs, about the particular needs and challenges of the community that you're working with in Cox's Bazar, because it's quite a different set of circumstances. And I think people in the audience will be have a little bit of curiosity about exactly what that looks like, what are the challenges that this community faces, and
Yeah.
how UNHCR is working to mitigate and prevent and overcome.
Yeah, thanks, Shahira, for at least giving us space to be highlighting what's happening in Cox's Bazar, in huge camps there. So as we know, it's almost 1 million refugees who seek refuge in a safe country in Bangladesh. The challenges are huge, but so are the capacities. The living conditions, as we're talking now about not only the clinical part of mental health, but also the social determinants of well-being, of public health in general and mental health, are truly challenging. Yet there are also a lot of opportunities, a lot of capacities, a lot of windows for us to be helping refugees and thus helping the communities that they are living with. I have here with me this beautiful bag from our livelihood program, which is made by refugees. Actually, even my laptop sleeve is also the same. So, things like this, things like helping people feel that there is a function that they can do. There's something that they can contribute in, feeling heard, feeling functional. All of this helps in mental health. For me now, I'm happy somebody from Unimart is next to me, because for me personally, having olive oil from Unimart was something that helped me big time in my own mental health. So from that also, when we talk about refugees, sometimes it's very simple things, truly. Very simple things to just recognize that they are present, recognize that they're not just a load in the country, they are also contributors. We all work in this response. For example, these contribute then to local economy as much as they contribute to refugees. All the raw material that we are getting as UNHCR, as IOM, as all the other agencies also are coming from Bangladesh. At the end, this is made in Bangladesh, so is my clothes from top to toe. So all of these, we try to help, to be there as the helping hand along with people in the country, to foster this self-reliance, to make people get more engaged, local, refugee, everybody. And yes, I do say that the situation is not easy, but I hope that together we could help people grow together. Yeah, thank you.
So I think that's a really powerful statement, that we all want to, we all want to feel like we matter. We want to feel like we're contributing something. And as refugees, it's a very difficult set of circumstances where you're dependent on other people for a sense of safety, for shelter, for the food that you eat, everything that the Rohingya refugees have is a handout. They have very limited opportunities, to actually unlock their own potential through skills and livelihood projects, through education. So that's something to reflect on. And I would love for you, Mr. Muhaj, to also talk about this idea of having a sense of contribution as being an essential aspect of our mental well-being.
Yes, please. I mean, she said it very nicely. I mean, it's the macro things that matters. If it is nicely led down from the children to the top, so it is really important. It's the connections that you make, first of all, and the connections that you value, right? And it's the healthy connections and unhealthy connections. So we all know what unhealthy connection takes us, but with the healthy connections, like like she said that in Unimart she found olive oil and she felt good. It's about small things that people look for and they feel good about it. And whether you are able to preserve that moments of good. Life is not only about taking a breath. It's all about the moment which takes your breath away. You create the moments. And whether we as a hospital, we as a clinic, we as a professionals, we actually deal with the very severe things. So that is a different things because they come with a severity. But before the severity, there is a precaution, how the severity begins. So before that, if we can identify that and be more aware of that and keep producing what you have just just did it here. These are the components, these are the baskets, like mindfulness, like yoga, like meditations, like boxing or eating out and talking to somebody, reaching out. These are the connections that you make. These are the healthy things that we all need. And if these things are present, that's the mental health. That's where you balance it, right?
So these are the pillars of mental health, right? Mind, body, soul.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is how it. Absolutely. One needs to know that they need to have a personal time at least 30 minutes a day.
Yes.
We don't have personal time. I mean, raise hand if anybody over here has personal time in a daily basis. You do. See, we have one. So please, like him, we should always have a 30 minutes to 1 hour personal time for ourselves. What we do, what we think. I mean, I sometimes people say that from here to go to Dhanmondi it takes about 2 hours. That 2 hours is really a nice 2 hours for me. It's not about traffic. It's about me, my time. Right? It's A to B point we're going to reach. But how we're going to do that, it's up to me. That's the thought process.
So we have time for one final question before we go to the audience Q&A. I would like everybody, all of our panelists, to offer a tip, an insight to our audience today on how they can boost their mental health.
Yeah,
so I know
yeah.
the first one.
Yes. I'm just going to say one thing. We make choices in life, right? And see the connection here. Life will direct you to make a choice, and the choice you value. That is called love. You make a choice, and the choice you value. And if you do that, you can value that choice and absolutely I find this is the meaning of love, and you can love yourself, you can love anything, you can love others, you can love nature, you can love God, you can love whatever it is, but the choice you have to value it. So please value the choice that you are making it.
Okay, value the choice that you are making. That's tip number 1. Okay.
Two tips actually. I think because as someone who has had mental health issues in the past, I've suffered from panic attacks. So these are things I think a lot of us are going through, and let's accept that it's part and parcel of just growing as a person as well. One thing that I've been able to rely on is as I said, my own spiritual practices. I think that has kept me centered. And that allows me to figure out what my purpose in life is. And I think that has sort of made me continuously question a lot of things as well. In fact, one of our panelists talked about the differences between our parents and our children and so on and so forth. You should let your children lead you as well. To that extent, sometimes when you give an instruction to your children and they ask you, why is it like this? You should actually ask yourself, why actually is it like this? Why do we take some practices for granted? Can it be questioned? And the second point I'd like to say is that help is available. At the end of the day, if you can just understand that, there's someone out there, and, it can be it could be a focus group, it could be healthcare professionals who may know exactly what you're going through, who can guide you down a process. That itself, just knowing that support is there, I think that helps a lot. So I think these things need to be sort of taken in good balance as well.
Okay, so tips 2 and 3. Help is out there. And let your children lead you, or let your spiritual practices lead you if you don't have any children.
I would say, one point is that we need to allow ourselves to live through all the emotions. When we want to grieve, it's fine. When we want to be happy, it's nice. All the feelings. And another thing, just also because in our field of work, we hear sometimes a lot of strong words against us or against people who matter. Yeah. Just to always remember that every word we say can live long time in the minds of people. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so tip number 4, be gentle with yourself. Be gentle with all of your emotions and also be gentle with others and what you say. Marjorie, on to you.
Okay. So, people who have faced often mental health issues, they often think that something is broken, or if I have a mental health issue, that means I am broken.
It's a nice thing to say. It sounds cool, but what does it mean? It means you are living every moment in its entirety with your entire being. And so that brings in love, right? That brings in community, right? I'm sitting on this chair, right? I am surrounded by people who care about mental health. It's a beautiful day, right? It's so pretty. These are all like things I'm seeing and feeling, right? But if I choose to think about, oh my God, like, why is Minaj Bhai staring at me like that? And like, are you looking down on me? And who thinks that I'm not looking good today? Or whatever it is that, I mean, those are obviously my insecurities, but we can talk about yours too. But what I'm saying is that if I waste my time bringing in that element of negativity, right? I could be spending that time practicing also bringing in the positive. Yes, I'm feeling very insecure today, but yes, it is a beautiful day, right? It is a beautiful Friday in Dhaka City, right? And those of us who grew up here, this is an amazing opportunity, you know? Dhaka City has never seen this. So start the day off with remembering that change is possible, and validation and loving yourself, kindness, self-care, understanding things from a perspective, right? All of that is part of mental health, and it's practice, right? It doesn't happen overnight. Yeah.
So practice positivity, let in positivity. I think it's a wonderful final thought. But now we have some time for questions from the audience. Does anybody have a question? Any questions? Okay. Any comments? Anything that anybody would like to share? Yes.
So I have a question that how can we stay optimistic while dealing with negative emotions in our personal life or professional life? Slowly.
Kushi, since you spoke about positivity, you want to start?
Yeah, absolutely. So I will tell you a very personal example that I just did a couple of days ago. I was feeling down. I was like, kind of like, everything sucks. I hate everyone. Things suck. I'm feeling down. I'm not feeling great, right? I mean, and we're going to be open, right? Because we all suffer from some mental health like problem at some point in our lives, right? So I was feeling down, and I do certain things to make myself feel better. Those things were not working. I was trying. And then I kept telling myself, when I keep doing it, it'll happen, right? And then, you know, I was in the car and I was listening to a song that reminded me of a friend of mine who's been going through a lot of stuff recently. And so I sent him that message with the song. And I was like, thinking of you, love you, right? And, you know, he wrote back, I love this song. But in my narrative, which is also okay, I was like, I made someone smile today, right? And I have to find some positivity in that, because sometimes it's just that. And that's life, right? It's not always pretty. Most of the time it's pretty ugly, but you have to find that diamond in the rough, right? Wherever it is, there is one. So look for it. And the more you practice, the more you'll find it. And call me if you need to.
Any other responses?
I think just to add to what you said, one, I think Minaj said something really nice about, taking some time out for yourself. I think that really helps. That has helped me a lot as well. One verse I'd like to quote from the Quran. It's a lovely verse that sort of has become a mantra for me. It's find them on with every hardship brings ease. And that's one of the points that I think one of our other panelists made as well, is that instead of focusing on the negative aspect of something, you'd rather choose to find immediately what the positive in it as well. So for example, when you're facing challenges,
facing challenges lets you grow as an individual. Without these challenges, you don't become better. Actually, not having challenges sets you back, in fact. So understand that challenges make you better as an individual, and yeah, at the end of the day, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I really believe in that as well. So take it all in stride. I think that really helps, and just balance it out. It takes some time to sort of
Evaluate what are the things that are really needed, what are the things that are of most priority, and stick to those, and get out as much negativity from your life as possible. Yeah.
Verses.
Of course.
As we're talking about verses, I would add another verses which I use quite a lot. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها لها ما كسبت وعليها ما اكتسبت صدق الله العظيم, which means that Allah puts on our shoulders as much as He thinks that we can take. The more challenges He gives us to live with, the more He knows that we can make it. Thank you. That's it. Yeah.
No, I mean, I have nothing to say. I just want to add one thing. Guys, you're so young. When is the last time you did something for the first time? Every moment we do. Every moment, right? So look, see, failure is a pillar of success. One must not always win. One must also come through the experience called failure, so you know what things to repair there. And come to a part called I win. So that's also a winning for me, failing.
Okay. I have a question for our panelists, just on the heels of what you said. So, our 5 experts, sitting there, how many of you have ever dealt with, mental health, challenges, just anxiety or depression or failing?
absolutely.
Yes. Okay. So that's 4 out of 5. And here you are, sitting here, today, offering insights, offering your expertise to help other people overcome their own challenges. So that's a really beautiful thing, and I think a lesson that, and exactly what you said, it's all about the challenges. Without challenges, without, being knocked down and then having to find that resilience and strength within yourself, we don't grow. So I think we will wrap up.
Sure.
Now.
Thank you so much.
Any final comments?
Yeah.
I wanted to also add that I think the spiritual aspect, we tend to shy away from that. Continue?
Yeah.
So a lot of the times, and I just want to say this because since we're talking about inclusivity,
I do want to put in there that sometimes when we talk about spirituality, whatever verse we're quoting from, wherever we're coming from. I mean, and this is something I truly believe about all therapists, is that your spirituality is your own, and you find what you need from your space, right? We can give you guidance from our perspective, right? But the spirituality aspect is so private and so personal and so strong. It doesn't have to be with what you think is God, or it can be, whatever it is, find that thing. Some people say to me that, when I play music, I feel like I'm close to God. Then that's your thing, right? And you have to honor that. You have to love that, right? So, sorry.
Okay, love and honor yourself. On that note, we'll bring this panel to an end. But the next panel is air quality. Okay, so we've got an air quality panel, which I think Leslie is going to moderate, coming up in just 15 minutes. But please stick around for that.
Lovely meeting you.
And thank you.
Lovely meeting you. I loved meeting you. How are you, man? I like this. Is that from here?
It's from here.
Oh my God. I was like looking at you. I was like, nice hat.
we all golden.
Yo, I didn't get it. I got this.
Oh, this is so much. So beautiful.
What up, bro? Look where I am, man.
Thank you so much. That was amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
So
Dude.